Are you all cabled up?
I have cables everywhere. I didn't know I had so many. So yes, I have the mic on. It's plugged into my phone. There's a big tangled mess of my wires on the floor because I can't untangle it, but I'm sure it's fine. It's going to be great. How is this all going to work when it comes together?
Who knows? I'll make it up as I go along. Let's get it back and see what it sounds like.
So since lockdown started, we've been asked many times to help clients make awesome podcasts. So we thought we'd go make one, a podcast about podcasts. Go figure.
Where was your chosen space, seeing as the environment is an important part of when you're recording anything?
Well, I live in a new build house, and so most of the rooms don't have a huge amount of furniture in them yet and soft furnishings. I've only been in a couple of weeks, so I've come to hide in my bedroom upstairs. So plenty of nice soft furnishings. Hopefully that's going to give me some decent acoustics. But I do live on a building site, so we might well hear trucks and diggers and other things going past. Hopefully it won't be too noisy.
This is absolutely the thing. We both know we're going to do this, both very aware of background noise. And just as I went to shut all the doors, I could hear an aeroplane. There was a guy, I don't know how far away he is, mowing the lawn. I can hear some people next door. And until you're really listening to where you are, you don't notice those things. You think, oh no, my box room's nice and quiet.
Absolutely. And do some tests. I did a couple of tests in a few different spots in the house, and I sounded like I was in a tin can until I came in here.
What have people asked you about making podcasts? Are they asking about content, or is it just about publishing it or recording it?
Tends to be less about the content. I think generally people know what they want to talk about and what they want to share with their audiences, but actually they're just nervous about doing it from home and whether or not they've got the right kit. We've had quite a lot of these sorts of things over the last couple of weeks, so I guess the biggest question is, can I produce a decent quality podcast just using my mobile phone?
Okay. Well, I mean, technically, you can. Most mobile phones, whether it's Apple or Android, they all come with some kind of recording facility in it, sometimes audio specific. The microphone in an iPhone is actually pretty good. But the issue is you need to be close to it, like you would be if you were holding your phone. You can do that. You can mount the thing so it's pointing at you if you're just doing audio.
And what if I want to include contributions from others?
There's 3 or 4 popular ways to make an audio programme and put it out as a podcast. You often hear just somebody solo on their own. Some really good ones where people are having a conversation. It's funny because I've had a few requests from people saying, oh, we're going to have a conversation. And that's not actually what they do. A little group of people will just give you 2 minutes of spiel and somebody in between will go, well, thank you, Tony. Over to you, Mike. And that's not a conversation.
So we've chosen to do ours over Google Hangouts, which seems to be working fine. But what if, for example, one of our clients has got offices in different places all over the world? Then maybe they use Teams or Zoom or something like that normally to connect. Can they use that?
Absolutely. You can record on any of those meeting platforms pretty much now. But I would always say, if you want better quality audio, also record it remotely. Now, listeners, you don't know this, but I posted a microphone to Susan. Hopefully her home recording will be much better than the compressed web recording that we've done through Google.
How do I make my podcast interesting and stand out from all the others out there?
I think it's like any kind of programme. You can make it interesting with some rhythm. I was looking for legal podcasts earlier. There's the Radio 4 one, the Law in Action, and there's quite a few I found on some of the university sites. And they produce them like a radio show. There's an opening, there's a little bit of scripted narrative, then they might have an interview with a third person, they might then have a bit more narrative, a case study from somebody else. And it doesn't have to be long and laboured, it just has to be interesting. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of the legal things are very specific. But I don't think that has to stop you making something a little bit more interesting with it.
And do you think it's better to start with a script or not?
I'm not a fan of scripts. Unless you are a real performer and you can read a script really well, I think it's better to write yourself 10 bullet points. if you're just doing it solo and you're just talking around your bullet points. But the more times you do it, the better it will be. If it's difficult to make a monologue of it around the bullet points, maybe that's something you can share with somebody. Get on the phone and discuss it with somebody. Get them to interview you even.
Yeah, because it's quite nerve-wracking, even just doing this. And obviously we know each other, we work together, that's fine. But, I mean, is it okay to make mistakes? I feel like I'm tying myself in knots. Like, how do we cut that out?
Do you know I'm going to have to leave some mistakes in? Because I'm just cutting them all out and we're just going to sound brilliant. But cutting audio's a piece of cake compared to lots of the things we get asked to do.
So we actually recorded this podcast at 11 a.m. this morning in between different calls and meetings, and it was up live by the end of the day. So that's a pretty good turnaround.
And also, we've just said it's better to have a conversation, and it's probably more interesting for the listener as well to hear people having a real conversation. But if for whatever reason that's not possible and the clients had to have different contributors recording their pieces independently, how do you go about turning that into a cohesive, finished piece?
If you have a structure of what the story is, then you can assemble them. And if it turns out that that doesn't link with that, then re-record a little bit of script. You know, that's what so-and-so's opinion was. But I met Thingy over in wherever, and he's got a different view. The other thing to think about is where you host it. Mm-hmm. Quite a few clients have got video platforms where they host stuff, but I've not seen anyone yet that's got a SoundCloud or an alternative podcast hosting system that they're using. But there are lots of options out there.
That's interesting. I guess you could turn it into essentially a video file by putting a little bit of some imagery up there and kind of...
Yes, YouTube, yeah, you could. You know, you could put a face to it. So just make a little graphic on there.
So what would you say are the top 3 most important things to think about if you're going to produce a podcast?
From a technical perspective, think about the space, the environment you're doing it in. Try and get close to the mic or invest in a separate one. Don't worry if you screw it up a few times. You can re-record it. You don't even have to stop your recorder and do it till you're comfortable with it, but practice.
Fantastic. And that's actually where having a professional do the editing is going to make the difference, right? Because they can piece together those different elements and make sure you get the best finished product.
Yeah, of course can, Susan. I can do that.
That's what we want to hear.